get started with today's lesson. This should be NTI Day 5. We're going to review one-step equations because you're going to use this and add on to what you learned yesterday. If we have an equation like this is asking you what number plus 7 equals 10. Now, most of us know this is 3, but we have to show our work to prove it. So we do the opposite of what's happening. So instead of adding, we'll subtract from both sides. These will cancel and we'll solve the math over here. 10 minus 7 is 3, so x equals 3. Most of what we'll be doing today is adding. So most of what you'll have to do to solve is subtracting. We might have something like this, where you have to combine like terms before you solve for x. But once you combine 3 and 4 to make 7, you're still subtracting. These will cancel, and 12 minus 7 is 5. The reason that we're reviewing this is so that you can apply what you know here to your angles that you learned yesterday. Now, the angles that you learned, there's 4 different types of angles. There are adjacent angles, and this is where you have a larger angle split into 2. Vertical angles, you have 2 lines that intersect, and when they're across from each other, they're equal. Complementary has a right angle split up, and supplementary is 180 degrees when you add them together. So when we solve for one part that we don't have, we can use our one-step equations to do that. Let's start off with a vertical angle because we know these are equal. So it makes it a little bit easier. If one side is 78 and these two are equal, well, 78 is only equal to 78. And when you have a vertical angle, sometimes you don't have to do any math at all. Let's take a look at complementary angles. Now, remember that this box means that this whole angle is 90 degrees. So this entire portion will add up to 90. We have to set up the equation to solve for x. We know both of these angles, when added, give us 90. So I'm going to take 55 and x and add them to get 90. We just did an equation just like it. We're going to do the same one step to solve it on this. Instead of adding 55, we'll do the inverse operation of subtraction and subtract 55 to cancel it out from both sides. Bring down x, and 90 minus 55 is 35. Let's move on to supplementary angle. It's very similar to this, but instead of adding up to 90, we have a whole straight angle, which is 180. So x plus 145 is not going to give us 90. It's going to give us 180. Same one step for solving, though. Instead of subtracting 55, we will subtract 145 from both sides. You might have to grab a calculator for this, but 180 minus 145 is 35. So our missing angle over here is 35 degrees, which makes sense because it's an acute angle, which is less than 90. Our very last type of angle, because we've covered vertical, complementary, and supplementary, is adjacent. These get a little bit more complicated because you can have multiple angles. Notice that this entire angle measures 161 degrees. which means when I add 74, x, and 36, I should get 161 degrees. I'm going to have 3 things being added instead of 2 with our complementary and supplementary angles. Set it up just like normal. I'm going to add my 3 angles, putting x because I don't know what that one is, and it's going to give me the whole sum of the angles, which is 161 degrees. I reminded you at the beginning of this video that we sometimes have to combine like terms before we solve our equation. We're going to have to do this here with our 2 angles. We need to combine 74 and 36, and we will add those together. 74 and 36 combined give us 110 degrees. I'm bringing down x and everything else that I didn't use yet. This time 110 is on the other side, but we're still adding, so we're still going to subtract to solve it. Always do that from both sides, keeping our equation balanced. And 161 minus 110 is 51 degrees. And we can check ourselves because all 3 of these angles should add up to 161. So if this is really 51 degrees, when I add 74, 51, and 36, it gives me 161 degrees, which proves that I did my math right. The most important part of this is you have to be able to tell what type of angle you're working with, because vertical angles are equal, complementary angles add up to 90, and supplementary angles add up to 100. Adjacent angles add up to something different every time.